2022, and it's been a year of change, a year of tumult, and a year of chaos, really. We've had three prime ministers, two monarch, and a cost of living crisis unseen like any other before. And on top of that, a huge amount of assassinations and losses for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are CHM. My name is Harry.
And I'm Chris. And yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot of major issues. But I think we kind of need to address, before we go any further, the massive world-changing news, the most important event in history, according to the Speaker of Parliament, and that is the Queen's death.
The Queen's death, yeah.
Which is clearly the most important issue of this year.
100%. It's been huge. I mean, that was something totally unexpected. I mean, obviously it was bound to happen, but when it actually does happen, I think that's when it kind of takes the world and sort of puts the stop button on people, really. I mean, you had a lot of the royalists in this country shocked and devastated. You had a lot of the young people affected as well. There was waves across the entirety of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, you also saw the insanity of the royal system.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, obviously, I'm from Canada. We have the king as well. So
Yes.
We
yeah.
had to see the same shit happening in Canada in French for no
Right.
other reason. But yeah, it's kind of it's a weird one because we don't. I mean, they don't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know
see,
where you are on this.
yeah, well, see, I'm under the sort of same impression as you, is that they kind of sit on a throne and they're the face and the sort of the idea of the country, in my opinion. I think that's what a lot of people believe, that they, because of their history, they're the people in the country that have that face and that idea that Britain is almost them. Like, the Queen defines Britain, and I think for a lot of traditional people, where losing the Queen is like losing a really significant part of the heart of Britain. I mean, I'm not so traditional, but I know a lot of people, especially in my family, that are very traditional, and I think that's their standpoint, is that it's very much the soul, the heart and soul, and the kind of lifeblood of Britain. So obviously, losing the Queen is almost like losing a limb. So I mean, it's huge. It's very, very monumentally big in this country to lose such a long-lasting member of the monarchy.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, the worst thing about it, obviously, is the fact that people got arrested for shouting nonsense at Prince Andrew, which he clearly is.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Also, for legal reasons, there is absolutely no evidence of him actually being a nonce. Please do not sue us, Prince Andrew, despite the fact you have no ability to do so. Anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, like, I'll say "not my king" apparently now is a crime, which it isn't, clearly, but it was treated as one. So, you know, it was kind of, you saw the best and the worst, although I'm kind of glad Boris didn't have to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
let's trust that too, but...
Yeah, definitely. We'll get onto them in a bit, but the idea, I mean, obviously we now have King Charles in power.
Hothead.
Yes, and just in my opinion, honestly, I'm not a royalist myself.
No.
I believe that the royals are very out of touch with what's going on in this country.
Absolutely. There may be a slight noise as a plane coming from Amsterdam has just touched down at City Airport, which is right next to us.
Yes, we are right next to London City Airport at the minute. But
anyway,
yeah.
Less significant and less important news: the war in Ukraine.
Yes. So,
which is
very. I mean, so it's happening around us. Obviously, we're defending Ukraine. I'll wanna.
Well, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
We're throwing money in their direction.
Yeah, and they're sort of grabbing for it as desperately, because obviously we need to be doing more, in my opinion, to be helping Ukraine. I mean, Russia have launched an aggressive and very violent attack on Ukraine. Right?
Yeah.
Ukraine are desperate for the help, and we have the appropriate resources to help.
I think the thing that's really shook everyone is the fact that Ukraine didn't fold within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like
Oh,
when
yeah,
when
man,
it happened, I
yeah.
thought, okay, Ukraine's part of Russia now. When the invasion first happened, I
Yeah.
think the resistance. I mean, the president's been able to fly to Washington during this. Like their country's stable enough for the president to be able to leave.
Yeah.
So it's kind of mad. I mean, obviously, there was a scheme here in the UK where you could basically look after a person from Ukraine. Knowing like have one in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which of course the government fucked up because they started putting Ukrainian women with single guys, which went well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Uh,
not, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there've been probably we're into hundreds of thousands of casualties for no good reason.
I know. Yeah,
Um,
it's absolutely,
Although I think we should probably say something like Putin clearly isn't in the right state of mind
no,
at this
he is.
point.
I think Putin has deteriorated significantly since
Yeah.
when he launched his war
Yeah.
against Ukraine. I think his health
I mean,
has deteriorated. His mind has deteriorated.
he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
Like he's getting old. It's great.
Mm.
I mean, apparently he's got cancer, which
And I think
horrible.
and having someone like that in charge of Russia is not healthy for the people.
No.
It's not healthy for Ukraine. It's not healthy for the world because
No.
anyone in a almost unhinged state of mind like that is going to act impulsively, and that's dangerous.
Oh,
That's very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Going on to a bit more about Ukraine. So when obviously the war started, back in was it sort of February, March time?
February 24th.
February 24th.
Yeah.
That's when everything started. It was huge news. Obviously, we've had a lot of things happen in that time, but back then, this was a really serious situation, and I think our government didn't step up. As I said before, Ukraine were really desperate for the help. They needed it urgently, and we didn't step to the curve.
Well, I mean, obviously the one thing that we don't want to do is obviously we don't want to be biased.
Yeah.
Which apparently is something that was a problem in the last one. But I just want to push back on that one because we were kind of the first one there. We were the first one to go out to offer that support. We kind of were the best ones at it. It's about the only thing, apart from Brexit, that Boris has actually done.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's true.
Yeah, I think,
I think
as much as we don't like Boris,
yeah,
give him credit where credit's due.
he did a lot for it, but then I think afterwards the sort of after the news in this country had died down about Ukraine, we didn't hear the politicians focusing that much on it. And I think it should have been a focus to be giving people more updates on how it's going. I mean, because obviously we're not really aware of how much support they are providing Ukraine at this minute, right? I think they should be giving more updates because a lot of people are very concerned about it. I've got friends that are living right near the Ukraine and Polish border.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the BBC do have updates sometimes, but obviously a lot of it's classified. So it kind of makes sense that there's not that much information, because obviously if they say, well, this is what we're giving Ukraine, it also says to Russia, this is what we've got.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think, I mean, obviously that's not the only story. I mean, it's clearly the biggest story, and it is going to go for several years.
Yeah, it's going to be a very...
It's going to be a very bad time for Ukraine, even after the war. Even after Ukraine wins, presumably they'll win.
Yeah,
but,
obviously there's going to be a long few years yet of conflict out there, and
it's clean up afterwards as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a bad aftermath. Yeah,
it's going to be.
It's going to be very, very devastating for a lot of people.
Yeah. Also, the letter Z is now a big problem. It's now a letter that no one likes looking at.
Yes.
They print them on the tanks.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which is not. Yeah. Which isn't good at all. I mean, it's damaging the fabric of things.
Yeah.
It's
I think
not good.
Outside of 2022 being the year of war, I think it's also the year really of like revolutions. If you get what I mean. Obviously, there's been the brave women in Iran.
Yes.
Standing up against their government.
That I think was very empowering. because Iran, their government has been a dictative government for years.
Well, I mean, it's a theocracy. Like,
Yeah.
we abandoned theocracy in the Middle Ages because it doesn't, it's a brutal system.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but
And having women, the women of Iran, stand up to their government, I think that's really really a great move. I think it shows that suppression
doesn't
would
work.
never work.
Yeah.
Never, because people have voices, people have strength, and the more that people unite and the more that people come together, that's when we can make a difference.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously one of the bigger stories. I know the soccer team also didn't sing the anthem.
Didn't quite make the.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean other things. So the World Cup. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, please let's not. That was.
There's the. I mean, for Canada, it's great that they got in. I mean, that's about it. That's the only good news.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
I mean, they were crap, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think they were a bit rough, but they did all right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also with revolutions, there's also been Sri Lanka, the
Yes,
overthrew
the
their government.
anti-protest. Yeah, the protests of the government. Yeah.
The unrest in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Again, I mean, that one didn't work as Russia sent the troops in, but still, the
unsettlement and the fact that people are sort of starting to come out and speak their mind, which I think we need more of, especially in 2023.
Yeah.
And then obviously, shall we move on to so as well as that, in our country we've gone through 3 prime ministers this year, that has never been known.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, we've gone through 3 kings in a year.
Yes.
But we've never gone through
3 prime ministers.
3 prime ministers. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, Boris, he basically, by the start of, so the year started politically in the UK with Partygate. With Partygate. And everyone thought, okay, he's done, basically.
And he held in there, didn't he? I mean, he.
Well, yeah, well, Ukraine saved him.
Yeah, well, that did. Yes,
that's
you could say that.
He handled that one as correctly as
right
possible
way, yeah.
without
I mean,
going towards Russia.
He was still a bit slow, in my opinion, but not as slow as he was to handle COVID.
Yeah.
So that.
So there's been that, but obviously it started with Partygate. I mean, the thing that really did him in was
the allegations with
Chris Pincher.
Chris Pincher, yeah.
I mean,
that was very.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the US, and I was trying to explain it to somebody over there when Rishi Sunak died.
Yes.
Sorry, not died. Resigned.
But I was gonna say.
Yeah, not died. Resigned.
Yeah.
We're not recording this, so that's it.
All right.
But yeah, so yeah, Rishi when Rishi Sunak resigned.
Yeah.
He I was trying to explain it. It's kind of like, because he was like basically number 2 in the government. It's like if the vice president resigned because of the conduct of the president.
Yeah.
It was like that. So obviously I was in New York when that happened, and it basically just 5th of July, he was secure as hell, right?
Yeah.
6th, everyone resigned. 7th, he was out. He was gone.
Yeah.
So, and to be followed by the best government that has ever existed in the history of the world, that of Liz Truss. Best because it was short.
So that was an absolute. I mean, I remember the lettuce. The lettuce situation where you had obviously a live stream with the Prime Minister's face and a lettuce, and the lettuce actually lasted longer, which says everything about her government, in my opinion.
I mean, people were saying like, obviously because it was the shortest one ever, it'd be like, people were saying, well, what's the next shortest? It was 110 days, and the guy died. Like, he had an excuse.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Liz Truss was just bad.
Liz Truss was a terrible. I mean, so let's go through her very short. Very memorable premiership. So she gets elected on a promise, pretty much.
Yeah, let's go through the timeline. She wins the election on September the 5th. She's inaugurated on September the 6th. The Queen dies 2 days later, which does mean that Liz Truss killed the Queen.
Yes, of
It's
course.
clear.
Yeah,
It's clear.
she did. She did. She must have.
I mean,
Yeah.
I looked at the photo. I mean, she's clearly had an IV and like she was clearly very ill. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
So you had. So I mean,
yeah. So there was 10 days of mourning.
So within that time,
Yeah.
so she gets elected on a promise that she's going to be more severe on the cost of living crisis, because by the end of Boris Johnson's premiership, his focus was more on saving his skin, really.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which he couldn't, unfortunately for him.
Well, yeah, he found that Britain's a democracy.
Yes, which he sulked about publicly on
I mean,
TV.
But yeah, So basically, it was 10 days of filming. 10 days of mourning for the Queen. That was then followed by the murder of the British pound.
Yes, so the pound was
statement.
tanked completely,
Yeah.
falling lower than the US dollar for.
Well, no, it was close. I mean, that's where I changed my money back. I basically got like for like, which was brilliant.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But
And then Kwasi Kwarteng emerged with a
with
a
the
budget,
plan.
the budget from hell, really.
Yeah, which
The
sacked
mini
the pound.
budget,
Yeah,
which was what killed the pound, which would mean that huge tax
cuts
for the rich, corporation taxes
Yep.
being completely abolished, and an insanely high amount of tax rises for the working class of this country.
Okay, could I correct all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, instead of that, it was actually got rid of the top rate of income tax. He didn't raise corporation tax, so just
No,
stayed the
yeah,
same,
that's right. Yes.
and he lowered the lowest rate of tax by 1 pence.
Right.
So yeah, there were no tax rises. There was just
No,
a lot of
yeah,
borrowing.
not particularly tax rising, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of.
There was borrowing, and basically what happened then is Liz Truss fired the Chancellor and got a new Chancellor.
Being Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah, Jeremy Hunt, who then reversed all of that and basically took over the government for about 3 days until Liz Truss resigned.
Liz Truss decided to. I mean, to be fair, I think that she resigned out of the pressure and the force that she was getting, because I think that
Well,
she I think would have stayed in power longer if she could have with Kwarteng, but
I think the thing is, she knew that the 1922 committee, which basically is in charge of backbench MPs, was going to change the rules to allow her to be removed from office. Like, she would have been removed had she not resigned. So I think she just took the honourable way out because she knew she would be removed.
yeah.
From office. Same with Boris. He knew he would be removed. That's why he resigned.
Oh yeah.
And
And
so,
I think that it looks better if they resign than
Yeah.
if they're forcibly removed from
yeah,
office.
I mean, there was even talk at one point of the king firing Liz Truss, potentially, which obviously would have been a massive
I
story.
mean, that would have been
a major story.
unprecedented. That would have
Yeah.
been that would have been changed. That would have changed, I think, a lot of people's views on what the monarchy actually do as well. Because I've never known the monarch in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I've never known the monarch to need to step in.
Yeah.
Ever.
So yeah, there was even talk of that, although that was on the fringe pretty much. But yeah, but also the last thing that I think we should probably talk about is some of the things that happened that were good. I think we should end on good news.
Yes.
Which was the world hit 8 billion people.
Yeah.
So that
I mean,
happened.
that's really cool. You know, we've got more the merrier, in my opinion. You know, we need, and I think that's a really cool number. 8 billion.
Yeah,
It's a really grand number.
Yep.
In my opinion.
The other thing that I think is brilliant is we found out that Britain is significantly more diverse than we thought it was, because the census data came out this year.
Yeah.
Which I think it's like 75% white now, down from 87.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
you know, about a quarter of Britain isn't British, which also was quite funny to see GB News react to that.
Yes, because obviously they can't stand
Yeah.
they can't stand that. But
Yep. Oh.
I enjoy the culture that we're
And
inviting. into.
of course, we should note the cancel culture doing its thing. I mean, I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but it definitely worked for Kanye West. He is finally
It's finally not saying
yeah,
anything that's extremely controversially wrong.
Well, I mean, he's
Well,
just
I mean,
not
he'll
being
still be
listened to.
saying it, but
Yeah.
it won't be publicized.
Apparently, he's being sued by one of his managers because he
Really?
didn't pay them, and they can't find him. Like, a court is there's actually like a manhunt for him at the moment.
That is
in the US.
yeah, that is
So there's that.
yeah.
Hopefully he's okay. But
Yes, I'm
yeah,
sure he will find his way, but
yeah, it'll be fine.
yeah.
Crypto crashed, which means that all dweebs everywhere lost everything. So that's good.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, FTX crash means nobody else can be defrauded.
And
That's good.
as you mentioned just before we started this podcast, the arrest of Andrew Tate.
Oh yeah, that happened yesterday.
Yeah. Now, very interesting because a lot of people are heavily influenced by Andrew Tate. And
But you might
his
say I'm not.
viewpoint. I'm not. I'm definitely not. But a lot of people are, which is fascinating, and I've never really understood that.
But
because
one thing that I did notice with Andrew Tate when he got arrested was all of the people who really like him all put videos out there saying, "Oh, this is like they're trying to silence him, trying to," and like, no, he's alleged to have kidnapped people and raped them. Like, that's obviously Romania is going to take that seriously.
That is absolutely. I mean, look. I think the answer is young, naive kind of people being influenced by his.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's people who aren't in relationships, but people who they see the world. Obviously, the world is now about empowerment of minorities, empowerment of females, as it should be.
100%.
But they're seeing that and thinking, well, I'm not female, so I'm threatened. And so his message of basically, women get back in the kitchen, it appeals to those people, and it kind of it's kind of sad because you think, well, these people are actual living, breathing human beings who probably aren't, are probably perfectly nice people. They've just, they've taken by an idiot.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, that's a big. But I think you're totally right. Actually, I think because of the empowerment. Obviously, we're living in a situation and a generation where everyone's rights, and this is something I value very highly. Everyone's rights are equal, and I believe that. I believe that everyone's rights should be equal, whether you're in the working class or whether you're the Queen or the King now. But
I mean, there is a Queen, but
not of this country. Yeah.
No. There's actual. Yeah, Camilla's now Queen.
Well, oh yeah, of course, yeah. Camilla is Queen. Yeah,
which has gone down well. GB News, the Harry and Meghan thing came out.
Yeah.
GB News took that one well.
I can imagine.
I did see the first episode of it. It's the most boring thing I've ever.
I've heard it was
watched.
absolutely shite.
Yeah,
I've heard it was.
I mean, it's
very
not worth
bad.
100 billion.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is 100 billion on it as well.
100 million.
Million.
Yeah.
100,
But yeah,
I thought you said billion. I was going to say,
No,
but
no.
still, 100 million is.
I mean, they got that big. I mean, it's Netflix. I mean, the renewed Emily in Paris, for God's sakes. Like, they will put anything on their network.
Yeah.
At this point, because no one's going to watch it, and apparently it's been beat out by. It's currently being beat out by White Christmas, which is a movie from the 1950s. That's currently more popular than
Really?
on Netflix.
Wow, that is unbelievable. Yeah, I know White Christmas obviously because the song comes from the film. Yeah.
Different film, the remake, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, honestly, I just believe that.
Yeah, I mean it's
I
kind of my
not really. Yeah, not necessary. You
Yeah.
know, and obviously, so we have that generation. It's a generational thing. A lot of people believe that. With but I think we're all equal, and I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a perfect moment to end on. 'Cause we're
Yes,
25 minutes.
yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it from us.
From
I mean,
us,
it's the only one of this year, so there's no point saying let's look back at all the things we've done.
But
'Cause we've done nothing.
This is going to be something that we keep up regularly.
Yeah, like bi-weekly, I think.
I'm not. Me and Chris have just kind of started this up completely,
Yeah.
so we're just kind of running with it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens in 2023.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's better than the last 3 years, or the 2020s will go down as the worst decade ever.
I mean, it's not looking good after the first 2 years, but we have another 8. So
yeah, we're on our way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So until then, stay safe, people, and keep on track with what's going on in the world, I guess.
Yeah, we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Yes,
and
thank you
goodbye.
very much.